The World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. was built about 5 years ago.
And sadly, many World War II veterans won't live long enough to actually see it. That's the urgency behind Central Missouri's Honor Flight, and a volunteer organization. KOMU viewers helped get off the ground. In tonight's Sarah story, KOMU 8's Sarah Hill introduces us to these veterans she calls living pieces of history.
Howard Collins is one of these living pieces of history. Mr. Collins once pulled a pilot out of a burning Scout bomber. This Navy bombardier crash-landed into the Atlantic, broke his back during the war, was paralyzed for weeks, and spent 3 months in a body cast, all wondering if he'd ever be able to walk again. Tough? You betcha. Just one of the 80 pieces of history on this honor flight.
First time I ever done anything like this.
Took me back to World War II when we were boarding planes going overseas.
This is going to be your day in Washington, D.C.
As nearly 80 World War II veterans got off the bus at the St. Louis airport.
Hey, you need a wheelchair? All right, grab a hold there.
Southwest Airlines employees played a game of tag with nearly 40 wheelchairs and hide and seek with 110 boarding passes.
Here he is.
A lot of people put a lot of work and a lot of donations, a lot of money. It means a lot to us. So we're anxious to actually see it.
Watch that step.
This is the first time some of these veterans have ever traveled on a commercial airplane.
I've always rode a ship or on a train and done a lot of walking. But that's it.
You'll have to take the shoes off. How you doing today? Okay.
And then there's security.
Got anything in your pocket? No.
Some of these 80 and 90-year-olds still have metal shrapnel in their bodies from the war. Artificial hips, prosthetic limbs.
All right, Mike, show me what you can do there, buddy. Way to go, Scott. Almost got something on you. Oh, Scott, oh, man, you let me down, buddy. Come on, Ralph. Okay. Way to go, Ralph. Thank you.
On the other end of security, firefighters volunteered to help the veterans put back on their shoes, suspenders, and belts. While most passengers might grumble at the hassle,
Having a great time.
the greatest generation is grateful.
I am thrilled. I'm putting you speechless.
Who wouldn't be?
After all, they've waited more than 60 years to see their World War II memorial. And on this day, they're on the threshold of an honor flight.
Oh, wow. There's one here if you want one there. Sure.
As they took their seats and the sun took to the sky, these veterans settled in for another mission.
Well, I flew 50 missions over Europe.
They usually say, how old are you? And I'm 92.
The window to get these World War II vets to Washington, D.C. is closing. We're losing them at a rate of 1,000 a day nationwide.
Just take it off the jetway.
As the veterans landed in Baltimore, they heard an unfamiliar sound coming up the jetway. One veteran said at first he thought it was static on his hearing aid. But once inside, he heard a grateful country loud and clear. The standing ovation lasted 15 minutes.
To know that there's still people who remember and step forward like that is just spectacular. It really is very touching.
I couldn't believe it.
I didn't know it. It's down deep.
Oh, it's been great. I feel young again.
Kind of choked up a little bit.
And if you'd like to welcome home a World War II veteran from an honor flight, come to Columbia's Courtyard by Marriott. That's near Grindstone and Highway 63 on October 13th. The bus is scheduled to arrive about 11 o'clock that night. And when the veterans get off the bus after a 20-hour honor flight, and there's a cheering crowd waiting, in the words of one former soldier, it's awesome. A word not usually in a 90-year-old's vocabulary.